Imagine a king who loved a woman so much, he would disobey his own father for her. What happened next was brutal, shocking, and history nearly erased her name. But the truth behind this betrayal will shock you. Let me show you exactly how it happened and why it still matters today. Peter was the Prince of Portugal in the early 1300s. His father, King Afonso, ruled firmly. Portugal was small, vulnerable, surrounded by powerful neighbors. To protect his realm, Alfonso arranged a political marriage for Peter. Peter was to marry a noble woman named Constanca from a powerful Castilian family. He did not love her. He agreed to this marriage only because his father insisted it would bring security and peace. On the day the royal procession arrived from Castile, Peter expected a polite introduction. Instead, he saw a woman walking beside his bride's carriage, someone not supposed to stand out. Her name was Inês de Castro. Inês was a lady-in-waiting to Constanca. She was elegant, graceful, and stunningly beautiful. When Peter saw her, his heart skipped. He could not look away. He fell in love at first sight. But this was no ordinary crush. Inês came from a powerful Castilian noble family, and her brothers were exiled nobles. They had a score to settle, and Peter's growing love made them influential in his whole court. Peter tried to conceal his feelings. He met Inês in secret. He sent her letters filled with longing. He spent nights beside her. Rumors started spreading in the palace. People whispered behind closed doors. Constanca grew jealous and frustrated. She watched her husband drift further from her. She begged him to end the affair, but Peter refused. His heart belonged to Inês, not his wife. Meanwhile, Inês' brothers began to gain favor. Peter gave them important roles in his court. King Alfonso noticed. He feared that his son's infatuation was also a political threat. Alfonso worried deeply. He saw how Inês' brothers could influence Peter. He feared a Castilian takeover. His own son seemed to be siding with his lover's exiled family. This was dangerous for Portugal. The king demanded Inês leave. He banished her to distant parts of his kingdom. But Peter's letters kept coming. He declared his love in writing. He refused to abandon her. Alfonso rose in anger. He saw his son's devotion as disloyalty. He believed Peter was risking the throne, risking war, all for a woman his father never approved. Tensions grew, time passed. Constanca gave birth, but the child died within a week. Some say this spared Inês from being godmother, which would have been scandalous. Others think fate simply intervened. Constanca remained alive, but her frustration grew. Peter continued his affair. Inês had children with him. Their bond grew stronger. The court watched, uneasy, fearful of what would come next. Then, in 1349, tragedy struck. Constanca died in childbirth. Peter was deeply affected, but not just because of his wife's death. In his heart, a new chapter seemed possible. Peter believed that without his wife he could finally be with Inês openly. He envisioned a future with her. But his father, King Alfonso, rejected that idea with fury. Alfonso feared public opinion, royal legitimacy, and political danger. He refused to let Peter marry Inês. He forbade it. He banished her to Coimbra, far from Lisbon, far from his son's court. Peter would not obey. He left the capital and followed her to Coimbra. He lived beside Inês. He loved her. They had 4 children together. Their bond grew, but the king's rage also grew. The risk was real. Those children might one day claim the throne. Alfonso saw the danger. He believed his heir was splitting the kingdom. He wanted a purge to restore his control. Then, in a dark twist, Alfonso set a trap. Inês was living in a monastery in Coimbra, raising her children. She believed she was safe surrounded by sacred walls and faith. But loyalty and blood do not protect against royal orders. In 1355, 3 men entered the monastery. They found Inês there. They seized her, ignoring her pleas, her begging, her fear. In front of her young children, they killed her. They cut off her head. They left her body behind. Her children saw it. The kingdom saw it. The court trembled in silence. When Peter found her dead, he fell apart. His grief was not just sadness. It was rage, fury, shame. He wept. He screamed. He blamed himself, and he blamed his father. Peter did not retreat into sorrow. He rose up in violent anger. He raised an army. He attacked towns. He burned villages. He marched against his own father. The war lasted almost a year. Father and son fought. The kingdom was torn apart. Fear and blood stained the land. The price of love had become civil war. In the end, a truce was brokered. Peter lost. His father held on to power. But Peter never forgiven Alfonso. The wound in his heart was deeper than any defeat. 2 years later, King Alfonso died. Peter became king of Portugal. But his first act was not celebration. Instead, he ordered a hunt. Find the men who killed his Benevides. Those men were hunted across borders. Some hid in Castile, others tried to flee, but Peter spared no effort. He wanted justice, he wanted revenge, he wanted their hearts. Finally, in 1361, 2 of the assassins were captured. They were brought before Peter. They trembled. They knew why they were there. Their crime was unforgivable. The trial was public. The crowd watched. The men stood accused. Peter stood as judge. His eyes burned with grief, with hatred, with love he could not bury. He pronounced their sentence: cruel, brutal, unforgettable. He ordered their hearts ripped out while they were still alive. He demanded they suffer as he had suffered. Some sources claim Peter himself killed them. He shouted at them, "You have done to me what you did to her. You have torn out her heart, so I tear out yours." He meant every word. That was his revenge. Not just punishment, but symbolic justice. He wanted their pain to mirror his own despair. He wanted their hearts as they had taken his. But his revenge did not stop history. Peter made a shocking claim. He said he had secretly married Inês before she died. He insisted she was his true queen. He publicized this claim. He said their love was not illicit. He framed her death not as scandal, but as royal murder. He forced nobles to swear loyalty to her memory. Reportedly, he had her body exhumed. They dressed her in royal robes. They placed her on a throne. He declared her queen even in death and made the court bow before her. Every noble was required to kiss her hand, her rotting, decayed hand. They swore fealty. They pledged their loyalty to a corpse. It was macabre, but it was a demonstration of power. That act shocked everyone. Some claim Peter himself watched nobles kneel. Others say he spoke at her open coffin, calling her his everlasting queen. He built tombs for them together. Inês and Peter rest facing each other in the monastery of Alcobaça. Their stone graves carved with words, "Until the end of the world." This was not just revenge. It was devotion, madness, love made into legend. He made her queen eternally, in life and in death. Many historians doubt parts of this story. Some say the claims about the exhumation are exaggerated or symbolic. Others argue the entire crowning of a corpse is apocryphal. But the power of the story lies not just in facts, but in what Peter believed, what he felt, and how far he was willing to go. His grief was his sword and his crown. In a time when kings could order deaths, Peter chose pain. He chose to remember. He chose Inês. He risked war for memory. He turned personal tragedy into political legend. So what does this mean for us today? Why does a medieval love story still matter? Because it reminds us about the cost of power, the price of truth, and the weight of legacy. It shows how love can challenge the strongest ruler. It shows how grief can reshape a kingdom. It shows how memory can become defiance. Peter's story teaches that revenge is not always destruction. Sometimes it is resurrection. It can elevate a lost voice. It can immortalize someone forgotten. And yet, the story also warns, vengeance can consume a person. It can drive you to terrible acts. It can distort your mind. It can demand terrible sacrifices. Peter may have avenged his love, but he also fractured his family and his realm. He made himself king, but he carried a hollow crown, one built on grief, not peace. His legacy is complex. He is a romantic figure, a tragic hero, a king haunted by love and guilt. He is proof that power and passion are dangerous together. If this opened your eyes, if you felt the twist of grief turning into defiance, if you wondered whether love can truly outlive death, then you are not alone. And if you want more stories like this, hidden corners of history, full of heartbreak, betrayal, and jaw-dropping revenge, there is more to come. But first, tell me this, which part shocked you most? Was it the secret letters? The betrayal? The execution? The macabre crowning of a corpse? Write it down in the comments. If this moved you, subscribe and like. Share this video with someone who loves history as much as you do. Together, we'll uncover the past they didn't dare to bury. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay brave, and remember, sometimes history's greatest love stories are written in blood.